What's up, everybody? We are back. Welcome to the Mindset Mogul podcast. We are your hosts, Josh Jacobs and Bradley Mora, and we are here to deliver some mindset value today that I hope you enjoy. We like to start every episode off with a moment of gratitude because regardless of how you are feeling today, no matter what has happened to you earlier in the day before you're listening to this, we like to refresh and reset with a moment of gratitude because I am very grateful to be here today talking to Brad. Having the ability to broadcast on camera or over audio is a privilege, and I feel lucky to be able to share anything that I do. Feel lucky to have you as a friend, Brad, and I'm just grateful for a lot of things in my life today. I feel really happy. So what about you?
Feeling great. I wanted to pose a question to you. Moment of gratitude. Should we start calling it the Mog?
The Mog. I like that. The Mog. Yeah, it's the Mog.
Sounds, everyone take a moment and Mog with us.
Yeah, let's Mog together.
We'll workshop a little bit. We'll see if it sticks. But I'm also feeling extremely grateful to be able to Mog with you on this call and have an opportunity to talk about what I think is an awesome Q&A today.
Yeah, we got another Q&A for you today. Before we jump in, I just want to say if you do get value out of today's episode, we would really appreciate it if you left us a review, if you followed us, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, if you leave a comment and like on that YouTube channel. All those things are going to help us grow a whole lot, and we're going to rely on you guys to grow right now. So obviously, if you don't get anything from it, you don't have to do those things. But if you do find value in today's episode, we would really, really appreciate that. So without further ado, let's jump in. Today is a Q&A. We have a question from Alex B. Alex wrote, I find myself spending so much time every day thinking about how I'm not where I want to be in life, and I'm in a rut that feels impossible to get out of. How can I turn things around? Thank you very much for your question, Alex. This resonates with me a lot because I felt like this a lot in my life. I'm sure Brad feels the same. It sounds like you are dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of mental pain. And there are a couple different types of pain, but the pain that you are dealing with sounds, like you said, of not being where you want to be in life, which is a very strong pain to feel. And
I thought about this a little bit. The pain that we're talking about right now, I consider it a form of signal from the universe. You can either say it's from some like greater external power or from just an intuition inside you, from your gut. It doesn't really matter, but there's this larger force at play here, putting pain into your mind, putting pain into your emotions, causing you to feel in a rut. And it's this type of pain that you need to take action to move away from. This is the type of pain that you don't want to feel in your life. Like anytime that you feel like you're on a treadmill, like you're in a rut, that you're not going where you want to go, that means that you've got some sort of friction that exists in your life that ultimately, like, this is the type of pain that you need to figure out how to remove. And so I think I'd like to use just an example from my own life of when I experienced this and how I listened to it, and then how you can start to use it to drive action. And then I think we can also jump into, because I think it's important to juxtapose that, like, this is a bad type of pain. This is pain that you should be working to remove from your life. There are also good types of pain. The important thing is realize that there's buckets of different types of pain. And the one that you're experiencing, Alex, is not the kind of pain you want to feel, and one that means you should be taking massive action to move away from that pain. And so the example that I had in my life was I was living in Chicago. I had been an employee for the last like 8 years in different capacities, from finance to tech startup. And over time, it's interesting. The pain starts small in these situations usually. Like there was always a seed of pain, and there was always a feeling, a small feeling of maybe being stuck in a rut, that this wasn't the right thing that I should be doing in my life. It didn't totally line up with whatever the bigger vision I had for myself was, what my values were, how it caused me to spend my time outside of work. I was doing things that were fun but unfulfilling. And it starts as a seed But then over the course of 5 or 8, maybe even 8 years in this case, that seed grew into this like disease of emotions and mind, to the point that the pain got so crazy and the feeling of friction in my life, that feeling of feeling in a rut, got so crazy that I basically just upped and moved to Sacramento to go start a business and make a huge change, which ultimately was the key to unlocking that rut. And so at this point, I don't know how long you've been feeling this pain for, this feeling that you don't have what you want in your life, but it sounds like the pain itself has gotten loud enough now that you're at a point where you'd like write into a podcast to ask a question about it. Like, it's got to be pretty loud. And so I think the antidote here is to figure out and do some self-reflection on what would a life without pain look like, and what is the massive action that you need to take to resolve that pain. Because to continue living like this, it's only going to keep expanding. And the worst part about this type of pain is it can infect other parts of your life. Like, if you're not happy at your job, if that's the source of what your rut is, it's eventually going to bleed into the relationship that you have with your partner. Because you're not happy at work, all of a sudden you're going to stop being happy in a relationship. And so you need to treat this like a doctor would treat a disease, figure out what the root cause is, and then start making massive action. You need to take massive action as the cure for the disease so that this doesn't infect the rest of your life.
That was very well put. Thank you for taking that. I could not have said it any better. That was amazing. Great breakdown by Brad. But I think you will only change once the pain of not changing becomes greater than the pain of changing. Meaning, the more pain that you grow by staying the same person, the more you're going to need to actually make that change happen. And, you know, I heard something on a podcast a long time ago that really, really made me self-reflect. And it was from David Goggins and Tom Bilyeu. And they said, look at all the things about yourself that you dislike, because that's typically where the pain stems from, and start to change those things one at a time. And I'm going to give you examples from my personal life. I looked at my own personal life. I was fat as hell, and I did not like being 100 pounds overweight. So I built a small habit to change that. I started working out 5 minutes a day. I went on a little diet. That was one thing where the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of changing after I got to that point. For 15 years, it wasn't. For 15 years, the pain of changing was much worse than the pain of staying the same. That's why I never changed. But it got to a point where there was no other option. Same thing with having a job, going on into the business. The pain of staying in the job and being on the treadmill, as Brad said, became so bad that there was no other option for me other than to change, because the pain of making the change became way less than the pain of actually staying doing the same thing. I could give you a bunch more examples, but the long story short is, in all of those moments, I looked at myself and I said, I don't like that I'm fat. I'm going to lose weight. I don't like that I have a job and don't have freedom. I am going to create freedom. I don't like that I'm addicted to drugs and going in and out of jail and rehab when I was a teenager. I stopped doing that. Every time I've made a major change in my life that has led me from feeling like I'm in a rut to feeling more clarity is when I've dove into the things that I disliked about myself and then started to change those things. So do a real self-reflection on what are the things that are causing you pain. Here's the other thing to consider. A lot of people, in my opinion, feel pain just because they know that they can do more. Just knowing that you're only using 50% of your potential and that you're leaving 50% on the table is a depressing thought, because you only have one life. Who wants to live their one life at 50%? So a lot of times, pain stems from the fact that you know you could be doing more and you just can't get yourself to do it. When in reality, all you have to do is force yourself to take that one first step forward and the rest will follow. It's about taking that first step. So I hope that there are some things you can identify easily that may be the answer to what is causing this much pain. And you can start to dive into each of those things and, you know, start with a small step to change it.
Wrapping, Josh, what you just said into like, what are the tactical steps to getting out of a rut? Or at least what is one approach to the tactical steps of getting out of a rut. And the first thing I think we were both saying is you need to have awareness of the pain. Like oftentimes before you hit that point where you're saying the pain is great enough to cause you to make change in your life, it's part of it is like you're just not even aware of what the pain is, what's causing it. You're not in tune with how you're feeling and why. And so actually taking the first step to bring awareness to your emotions and the root cause of them, that's the first and most important thing you could do. And it likely can expedite the process of recognizing that you've got this growing pain inside of you, that you're headed towards a rut. So for anyone who's listening, and for Alex, it sounds like you're already taking this first step, is bring awareness to the fact that you're feeling this pain. Acknowledge the pain. Don't run from it. Don't try and ignore it. Acknowledge that you have this pain, and then ask yourself, what are the things that could be causing it? So first step is awareness. And then the second step is, as you brought awareness to it, in many cases, it's going to be rooted in something that you don't like about yourself. Probably more often than not, it may be something that you don't have that you want. But like the reality is most of the times that is the case because you don't like something about yourself. Like you don't have the wealth or the relationship that you want because you don't have enough self-love to build self-confidence, or you don't have the discipline to go save money or to learn a new skill to make more money. And so taking it from the vantage point of what it is that I don't like about myself is an easy way to hack into, okay, then what change can I make? You just got to work against that one thing that you don't like. So I really like how simply you make that process of you're in a rut, bring awareness to the situation first. And then secondly, pick one thing that you don't like about yourself and go start taking action against it. It's like a quick way to start moving in a direction that'll pull you out of that rut.
And I like what you said, you got to feel it, because it is true. It's like, I forgot who says this, but somebody said, let that pain burn. Let it burn badly, because that pain is the signal for you to make that change. That pain is telling you exactly what you need to know. It's just about having the awareness to actually take action on what that pain is telling you to do.
100% agree on that. I think it's a worthwhile call out to say, if you find yourself drawn to watching TV too much, drinking alcohol too much, using drugs, playing video games, and you recognize that you're using these things as a form of numbing yourself from your life, from pain that you're feeling, that's part of this process of awareness and recognizing that if you're going and doing things that are numbing pain, that's a signal to you that you should be setting those things aside and taking more time to either meditate, put yourself in situations where you can hear your own thoughts, feel your own feelings. And even if it is painful, because it's going to be painful.
I'm going to say something based on what you're saying. When you change your habits from avoiding the pain with distractions and vices to actually diving headfirst into the pain, yes, and intentionally creating pain for yourself through scenarios, the positive type of pain that Brad first alluded to in the episode, such as the pain of learning a new skill. Going through and learning a new skill is painful. It's very difficult to go and learn something new and, you know, do something brand new. So that's a painful skill. You feel like an
idiot for the first, you
feel like an idiot. It's not it's not a comfortable thing. It's painful, but that's the positive type of pain. That's the growth type of pain. Same thing with going and working out, going on a run, doing an intense lift. Some sort of exercise is a physical pain that is a very positive pain for you physically and mentally. The more intentional suffering that you put yourself through, the less unintentional suffering that you will go through, because you will be prepared to handle anything that life throws at you. So think about that, and think about some things that you can intentionally suffer with. Like we said, a lot of times it comes down to building a new skill set, because here's the thing. When nothing else works, work works. I read this yesterday on my friend's Instagram post. When nothing else works, work works. If you have no clue what you want to do and you have no clarity in your life, which is a terrible feeling, work works. Go learn a skill. It's going to be a painful thing to do in the beginning, because especially if you're in a depression, you're not going to want to go and watch videos and learn how to freaking make Facebook ads or whatever, but it will be positive for your life, and it will create some sort of momentum for you, and it will open up different opportunities. Same thing with your body. Go treat your body well, and it will help you mentally by putting yourself through that physical pain.
That was a fantastic way of putting that.
The one other thing that I'm going to say about that is, when you are looking for that clarity, and like I said, if nothing else works, work works. That is true. And the other thing that works is what we said before, which is looking at the things that you dislike about yourself and calling yourself out on those things, because that awareness is the clarity that you need to actually make the change.
It makes total sense. It's the early steps in clarity is actually just first aligning on the things that you don't like about yourself. That's actually a form of clarity that you would 100%. Not have had before. Coming back to this notion of work works, any sort of entropy action that you can drive into your life, it's going to create change. And so if you're in a rut, it's the opposite of being in a rut, because a rut basically means that you're standing still, is movement. So any type of action you can take, even if you don't know what you're going to do with that skill, just by virtue of going to learn that skill, you're going to get exposed to new things, learn more about yourself, have more opportunities, have a bigger network. It's going to push you in a direction of, you can't even stay in a rut when you're doing things that push you forward. The two just don't work together. You can't have them at the same time. Just like you can't have gratitude and be angry at the same time. You can't be in a rut and doing a ton of high action things that push you in any direction, because they're just the opposite. And so I thought that was a great point, that if you don't want to be in a rut, go do something, because the two ideas aren't even compatible.
That's why every time I feel like I'm getting into a rut, I do 75 hard, because 75 hard gives me the momentum that I need and the discipline, and most importantly out of anything, the clarity that I need to feel happy in life. When I don't have clarity, it's a depressing feeling. I mean, how many times have you heard people say, I have the work ethic, I have all these things, I just don't know what I want to do? That is a very painful thought, because it's a limiting belief, and it just keeps you in that rut of cycling over and over.
That's acknowledging potential not had there. You're like, I can be doing this. I got this work ethic. So you're like directly recognizing your potential not being met, which should be a painful thought.
Exactly. It should be freaking painful. You should be putting in the most of your potential. You have an impact to make in the world, and the fact that you're not doing it is probably painful subconsciously, knowing that you're not living up to what you truly are capable of as a human being. So with that said, I don't know if you want to add anything else before our audience exercise.
No, let's close it out for Alex. Leave him with a final exercise here, and then anyone else in the audience who wants to get themselves out of a rut or just make that next step in improving themselves.
Yeah, and I think so today's audience exercise, we've already talked about it 4 times throughout this episode, but that's because of how important it is in a situation like this. It is probably the most important thing, which is to write down whether it's one thing, whether it's 5 things, it doesn't matter. Write down the things you dislike about yourself, and don't be hard on yourself. Like, you have to have the awareness to understand that anything you dislike about yourself, you can change. It's not a reason to go further into a depression or anything like that. It's actually a reason to start being happy, realizing, holy shit, I actually have the ability to change these things that I dislike about myself. So don't be too hard on yourself, but be incredibly honest with yourself about the things that you do not like. If you're overweight and you don't like it, if you're working a job and you don't like it, if you're, in a relationship that you don't like, if you just don't use enough of your potential and you're just lazy, like, what are the things that you don't like about yourself? Write those things down. And start by committing to a very small habit to help changing one of these things. And I'll give you an example. When I didn't like that I was overweight, I decided I was going to commit to doing 5 minutes a day on the treadmill, no matter what. Because that 5 minutes, even though it wasn't going to help me lose weight, it helped me build momentum. It helped me build confidence. It helped me keep the promises that I made to myself. And throughout doing that for 30 days, some days I went 5 minutes, some days I went 35 minutes. But at the end of the 30 days, I was way more confident. I had a much better discipline habit growing, and I was a little bit proud of myself. And obviously I built on that and lost 100 pounds. Same thing with quitting a job and starting your own business, I made a goal to watch 3 training videos a day on marketing back in the day when I was starting my marketing business. It's very easy to start small. Don't give yourself too much where you're not going to do it, because the whole point of it is to keep the promises that you make to yourself so that you start building confidence and you start building that fortitude and grit that is necessary to, create the life of your dreams. So, audience exercise, Alex, anybody else, write down some things that you don't like about yourself, and then write down a habit that you are going to start forming to help change one of those things at a time. So I hope that you guys got something out of today's episode. Brad, you have anything else?
No, that was an excellent way to close it out.
Perfect. All right. Well, if you guys enjoyed this and got value, please like on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want your question answered, you can leave a comment below and we will answer on YouTube, or if you're listening to audio, send us an email to support@mindsetmogul.com. And we really appreciate you guys. We're really enjoying doing this and can't wait to keep going. So we will see you in the next one. Take care.
Take care, everybody.